it's an unfortunate storyline that seems to be dominating the offseason a little bit. Hopefully, it ends in a better place with testing protocols, clearer messaging, a little bit more transparency. I don't think all cases are the same. You can feel whatever you want. I don't have to agree with you, and I think the facts suggest she's being honest.
Hey y'all, I'm Christian Bassnight and welcome to Christian's Court, where I cover tennis from all angles. Today, as you can probably tell from the title of this video, I have a different video, in fact an interview with the one and only Andy Roddick. Aside from being the last American man to lift a major singles trophy, Andy started a podcast earlier this year, the Serve Podcast, which has quickly grown to having more than 100,000 followers across YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. Last week, the Serve Podcast announced that it made a deal with Vox Media, who will assume sales, marketing, and distribution duties for the show and will partner with the Serve team on expanding their live event business. I ran into Andy this past weekend while I was covering the inaugural Charlotte Invitational, and I asked the Hall of Famer about the new deal, his prospects for the podcast, as well as his thoughts on the public's response to Iga Swiatek's doping case.
Hello, Andy. Thank you for joining me today. Obviously, recent news that the Serve Podcast got that nice deal with Fox. Can you just give your feelings on that?
Yeah, it's great. I've been a consumer of Vox Media for a long time, both their podcast arm and the digital arm with Thrillist Eater and everything else that's under their umbrella. I don't understand. I guess I don't need to understand why they care about a dumb little tennis show, but we're happy to take the opportunity. I think it's more ears. Obviously, we're kind of this little operation that's existed out of a home gym for a while, and so I think it's access to more eyeballs, more ears. The tennis demographic is fantastic. Hopefully we're with someone credible who knows how to navigate it a little bit better than we do. But listen, it's great because it takes a lot of the stuff that we're not great at off the table, and we get to focus, and we maintained 100% creative control, which was very important to us. I like to be able to kind of say what I think. I think that's part of the magic of our show, and so that'll stay put.
Would you have ever imagined when you first had the idea of starting the podcast that it would get to where it is now?
No, it was a very simple thesis that I think it was over, a couple of beers with producer Mike. Where it's just basically the tennis landscape is amazing. People are aware of it. It feels like any tennis star who wants, a Netflix special gets it. I think the consumption rate for all things tennis is through the roof. But there was no place, no really, really solid place to go on a random Tuesday for tennis content that wasn't centered around live rights. And so we figured that could be an avenue for us. No one was attacking, the space that you're good in with YouTube, Apple, Spotify. That was largely ignored in tennis. So we thought there was a lane, and thankfully our listeners are proving us right.
Awesome. Now, the players were unable to comment a little bit on this, the Iga Swiatek doping case. I don't know, you made a video about both Iga and Jannik. What are your thoughts on kind of the whole public's perception on what's been going down? What are your overall thoughts on it?
It's just tough. I think we've proven over and over and over again that we're not really great at nuance at scale. We're all guilty of it. We all, the beauty of information being available all the time is that we can consume it all the time, and the problem with it is that we consume it all the time, and we deal in headlines largely. Iga had melatonin, and there was something in it. It was proven that her story that she was telling was true, not just by you're telling me this so I believe you, but actually samples from the batch being tested. Am I gonna, question someone's legacy because they had a melatonin, trying to get over jet lag at 2 a.m? No. But others can have a different opinion. I don't think all cases are the same. If someone gets cleared by, a room full of data scientists who can say that there was no performance enhancing effect, I don't know that I'm arrogant enough to say my opinion matters more than what you're an expert at. It's just unfortunate. I think it's just really proving that we need consistency with messaging. We need clear outlines of rules. You go on the ITIA site and they say 40% or 30%, I forget the number, but somewhere around there of positives are from contaminated supplements that you and I probably take, right? But we're not getting tested for 1/1 billionth of a gram of something. So it's an unfortunate storyline that seems to be dominating the offseason a little bit. Hopefully it ends in a better place with testing protocols, clearer messaging, a little bit more transparency to where these players aren't kind of they have to keep it a secret until things have been tested and until their cases have been at least looked at. But it does put the players in a pretty weird spot. And it seems to be more consistent as testing technology gets better. It seems like it's vetting out results that aren't that important to performance enhancement, and I don't know that should be the goal.
Last few questions. So you mentioned that you're not going to be judging, in this case, Iga's legacy after this case. Do you feel like it's fair for other people to kind of look at her a little bit differently after this? Or maybe, we saw with Sharapova, she kind of had a little bit of a taint in her legacy with the whole meldonium case. Do you think it's fair that Iga kind of suffers, or not fair, but do you think it's fair for people to feel a similar way about Iga and even Jannik in his case?
I can't tell you about feelings. You also can't expect me to value your feelings more than the facts of the case. So you can feel however you want. You can say whatever you want. I'm not going to be mad at you for it. My opinion might be different. If this was for, a masking agent, for an anabolic steroid, that would get my attention a lot more, as opposed to her having the story, the timelines match up, every bit of evidence matches up with what she's saying. And are we getting to the point where it's like, okay, well, athletes, therefore you shouldn't be taking any supplements? That's a crazy thing. Our bodies literally are our vehicle to success. And we have to do everything we can to make sure that it's healthy. So you can feel whatever you want. I don't have to agree with you. And I think the facts suggest that I think she's being honest.
Final question. So Jannik Sinner, after his whole case, he honestly, I believe, handled it wonderfully as far as the PR and doing the interviews and also his performance. He won the U.S. Open, won a whole bunch of tournaments. How do you believe, on your own opinions, how do you think that it'll fare for Iga once she returns to the tour at the start of the year, and how she'll be able to handle the situation?
We'll see. We're guessing. Their personalities are a little bit. Jannik is a little bit calmer. When I played, I was pretty hyper. I was pretty anxious. I think Iga is maybe not. I'm not comparing myself to Iga because she's way better than I ever was. But her intensity is her calling card, right? Jannik was able to kind of separate, what's going on outside of the court versus the job I have to do on a day-to-day basis. If I'm Iga, I'm probably calling him and saying, are there any hacks that helped you deal with it the way that you have? You almost got better. In the postmortem of the announcement. We don't know. We'll see. There's certainly going to be things to deal with. She's going to get asked about it every time, even if she, it'll be as if, whoever's asking the question hasn't been able to read her responses before. They're going to make her say it again and again. If I'm in her corner, I just say, don't ever have a moment where you're exhausted by it. Just be patient with the process. Do what you have to do. The more emotion you show, the more likely it is to be a story over and over again. And she's confident that she didn't really do anything wrong. I think the facts support her. So hopefully she just holds her head high and gets on with business.
Thank you so much, Andy.
Cheers.
Big thank you again to Andy for lending his time. He did not have to do that and speak with me, but I appreciate him so much for being so generous with his time and speaking with me. Also, Andy, if you're watching this, I'm always available if you need an extra guest co-host on the podcast. My email is in the description of this video. Of course, thank you all, Christian's crew, for supporting me to where I can go to an event like the Charlotte Invitational and ask Alcaraz and Roddick questions. A vlog of my experience at the Charlotte Invitational will be coming soon, so make sure you subscribe and click that notification bell so you are notified whenever I post that. Also, comment below your thoughts on this interview and anything that Andy had to say. And two, if you haven't already, make sure you check out the Serve podcast. I think episodes drop every week. Thank you all so much again for watching and for your support, and I'll see you all next time soon here on Christian's Court.